We are building the architecture of the future, one built not on steel and glass, but on data, billions of data points.
And we are teaching this new architecture our oldest sins: where to look, who to watch. It's learning from a past stained by bias, and now it's predicting that past as our future. Despite failures, despite protests, the investment is skyrocketing. This is a $196 billion gamble on our civil liberties by 2034.
What happens when an officer gets an alert? When you are labeled a potential threat by a system no one fully understands? The reasoning is a black box. The funding is a pipeline. The consequences are real lives.
This isn't just about crime. It's about power. Who has the right to see the future, and who gets to live in it?
We've seen the failures. Now we follow the money and the fight for accountability.
This dashboard shows how our new AI tool can help our community by providing real-time insights and solutions.
The Department of Justice itself has laid out the dangers: biased data, feedback loops, eroded trust. So why is the machine still being fed?
The code is being written. The question is, will we read it before it reads us? I'm Jordan. Let's begin. Welcome, future visionaries. What you just saw wasn't a dystopian fantasy. Every visual, every claim is anchored in documents, reports, and investigations happening right now. We are living in the era of the algorithm, and one of its most consequential and controversial battlegrounds is your street, your neighborhood, your right to move through the world without being labeled a pre-crime statistic. Let's be clear from the start. The core idea sounds logical. Use data to be smarter, to prevent harm, to use limited resources well. Who could argue with that? But as the United Nations Special Rapporteur has warned, we cling to a dangerous illusion of objectivity. We wrap flawed human systems in the aura of technological infallibility. And the stakes are being raised at an astonishing speed. While cities like Los Angeles and Chicago have shut down high-profile failures, the global market for AI in predictive policing is exploding, projected to grow from $5.6 billion to nearly $200 billion in less than a decade. That's a growth rate of almost 50% per year. This isn't a fading trend. It's a gold rush, powered by major players like Palantir, Microsoft, and IBM.
Meanwhile, a hidden federal funding pipeline managed by the Department of Justice has been seeding this industry for over 15 years. It's a cycle. Federal grants fund pilot projects, which become companies, which sell products back to police departments using more federal grants. As a law professor studying this told The Conversation, the DOJ was seeding and feeding this technology for years without asking the hard questions about who it would harm. The how, the flawed data and inscrutable algorithms creating prejudice pixels. The why now, the money pipeline and market forces turbocharging adoption. The what next, the growing push for transparency, the democratic models emerging, and the fundamental philosophical choice we all face. This is about the future of justice, safety, and freedom. It's complex, it's uncomfortable, and it's essential. So let's deconstruct the machine.
First, we need to understand the machine. Predictive policing isn't one thing. It generally comes in two forms, and both are problematic. Place-based prediction, the where. This is the classic hotspot mapping. AI analyzes historical crime data, usually arrests and reports, to predict where future crime is most likely. The goal is to optimize patrol routes. Sounds efficient, right? But here's the critical flaw. Historical data is not a neutral record of crime. It's a record of where police have historically been deployed and who they have historically chosen to stop and arrest. If a neighborhood has been over-policed for decades due to systemic bias, it will have more recorded crime data. The AI sees that data, interprets it as high crime, and sends more police there. This creates a pernicious feedback loop. More police find more minor offenses, which generates more data, which justifies more police. As the DOJ's own 2024 report states, this can amplify historical biases and create a disproportionate impact on vulnerable communities. The algorithm isn't predicting crime. It's predicting past policing patterns and calling it the future. Person-based prediction. The WHO. This is even more invasive. It attempts to identify individuals at high risk of either committing violence or being a victim of it. It uses data like prior arrests, social networks, and even social media activity. Programs like the infamous LASER program in LA, funded by the DOJ's Bureau of Justice Assistance, or the Strategic Subject List in Chicago, tried this. They were often shut down after outcry. Why? Because they formalize suspicion. They turn correlations from biased data into a score that can haunt a person, leading to increased stops, surveillance, and harassment, all for a crime they haven't committed. In Pasco County, Florida, a similar program led deputies to repeatedly visit people on a list, citing them for things like tall grass. This is administrative harassment, powered by an algorithm. Both types of systems often suffer from a lack of transparency. Most police departments have no public policies on how these tools work. The algorithms are frequently proprietary black boxes. Even the police using them can't explain why the AI flagged a certain person or place. How can you challenge a decision you can't understand? How can there be due process? Now, with those profound technical flaws clear, a baffling question arises. Why is this industry booming? To answer that, we need to follow the money and the policy. For over a decade, the Department of Justice has been the primary sugar daddy for predictive policing. It works through two main arms. The research wing. Since 2009, it has provided over $10 million in seed grants to academics and startups to develop these theories. The very first predictive policing conference in 2009 was NIJ funded. The distribution wing. Once a technology is developed, the BJA gives direct grants to police departments to buy and pilot it. It funded early tests of Predpol and the LASER program. Since 2005, the BJA has given over $7.6 billion to law enforcement for various tech projects. This creates a powerful, self-perpetuating ecosystem. Academics and startups get funded to innovate. Police departments get free or subsidized tech without dipping into local budgets. Companies get a customer base. But as experts have pointed out, for years, basic questions were not asked. Who will this harm? Could it have a racially discriminatory impact? Does it actually work? The focus was on deployment, not rigorous validation. This federal priming has helped ignite a commercial frenzy. The global market is expected to grow at a staggering 48.6% per year. In the U.S. alone, it was a $1.29 billion market in 2024. This growth is driven by a narrative of efficiency and proactive policing and fueled by the rise of real-time crime centers. These centers, also funded by federal dollars, combine every camera, license plate reader, and sensor in a city into a central nervous system. Predictive analytics become a simple byproduct of all that data collection, creating a surveillance infrastructure far more powerful than early predictive tools ever were. This hasn't gone unchallenged. In January 2024, a group of U.S. senators led by Ron Wyden and Yvette Clarke demanded Attorney General Garland halt funding for predictive policing unless discrimination can be prevented. They cited mounting evidence that these tools worsen the unequal treatment of Americans of color. This pressure is forcing a reckoning. The DOJ is now, belatedly, evaluating the civil rights impact of these systems. Concepts and money trails can feel abstract, so let's ground this in 3 real-world stories that show the human cost and the systemic failure. LAPD used a place-based system called Predpol. An investigation by the Markup and Gizmodo found it disproportionately targeted Black and Latino neighborhoods while avoiding whiter, wealthier areas. How? It was trained on biased historical data. The result was a perfect feedback loop of over-policing. It was finally shut down in 2021 after public outcry over its low accuracy and bias. The sheriff's office here ran a notorious person-based program. It generated a list of potential offenders, including children, based on factors like past arrests and social circles. Deputies then subjected these people to relentless knock-and-talk visits, citing them for trivial code violations like overgrown grass. A lawsuit forced the program to end, with the sheriff's office admitting it violated constitutional rights to privacy and equal protection. This was Minority Report-style harassment, but without the psychic justification, just a flawed algorithm.
It's not all dystopia. Some places are trying a different path. Newark experimented with risk terrain modeling, which analyzes environmental factors that attract crime, like abandoned lots, instead of just policing data. The solution? Turning those lots into parks and affordable housing, addressing root causes, not just symptoms. And San Jose has adopted a groundbreaking set of public AI principles. Any AI tool used by the city must be transparent and subject to public scrutiny. They are trying to open the black box, forcing vendors to explain their models and allowing for bias checks. This treats public technology as a matter of democratic accountability, not just police efficiency. The technical flaws and the financial incentives force us into a deep philosophical abyss. We must confront these questions.
Our justice system is built on innocent until proven guilty. Predictive policing subtly inverts this. It operates on a logic of risky until proven otherwise. Your zip code, your associations, your data trail can mark you for heightened scrutiny. This shifts the burden of proof from the state to the individual. We're doing more with less. But should the administration of justice be primarily an exercise in efficiency? What gets lost when we prioritize algorithmic speed over human judgment, context, and mercy? The DOJ report warns that these tools inform resources but do not prescribe specific interventions or evaluate their effectiveness. We're optimizing for the wrong metric. Police and companies often claim the algorithms are proprietary trade secrets. But when the state uses a tool to exercise power over citizens, to deploy armed officers to conduct surveillance, does the public not have a fundamental right to audit that tool? As Maria Lungu, a researcher at the University of Virginia, argues, government use of this technology must be grounded in democratic values of due process and transparency. Secrecy is the enemy of justice. The core problem is that AI is a mirror. It reflects the world in the data we feed it. We are trying to use a tool trained on a history of inequality to create a future of equity. Is that even possible without first radically changing the data, which means radically changing our society itself? We've dissected the Prejudice pixels. We've traced the billion-dollar feedback loop from flawed data to federal grants to commercial markets and back into our communities. The evidence is overwhelming. Unchecked, these systems automate and amplify historical injustice. But this isn't a simple tech problem. It's a governance problem. It's about who controls the code that controls our lives. So, here is my final, challenging question for you, future visionaries. We are at a crossroads. Do we accept that predictive policing is inherently poisoned by its data and work to ban or severely restrict it? Or do we believe it can be salvaged with radical transparency, like in San Jose, and relentless public oversight? Is the solution less AI in policing, or a completely different kind of AI built on entirely new principles?
I want to hear your answer to that crossroads question. What's your vision? Ban it or reform it? What safeguards are non-negotiable? If this investigation opened your eyes to the scale of this issue, hit like. It helps others find this critical discussion. Don't just share this, share it with a question. Tag a local city council member or community leader and ask, what is our police department using and what are its transparency policies?
We are committed to diving deep into the technologies reshaping our world. Next, we're investigating the rise of real-time crime centers, the all-seeing surveillance networks that make today's predictive tools look primitive. You won't want to miss it. The most dangerous algorithm is the one we stop questioning. Stay curious, stay engaged, and as always, stay visionary.